This is our second screencast, and this time we're going to be looking at the return of the classics to Europe after a time period where they were gone and how that leads to some decisions by Europeans. Don't forget that you can rewind, pause, do whatever you need to do in order to help yourself with the notes. So we're going to start with some background information. The classics were lost after the Roman Empire fell, and it led to a period that is referred to as the medieval period, but also referred to as the Dark Ages. The reason it's referred to as the Dark Ages is that knowledge is also often portrayed as light, and during the Dark Ages, knowledge was lost in a lot of ways. So that often gets referred to as the Dark Ages because people aren't interested in education and learning new things. Basically, the church kind of controls a lot of parts of people's lives, and there's not the Christian church, and so people don't spend a lot of time seeking knowledge. The plague and Black Death show up around 1300, and at the same time, people start to ask questions about whether or not the way they're living their lives is the best option, and so that means that people start challenging the authority of the church, and this causes a rebirth of classic ideas where people can be portrayed realistically in paintings and where knowledge has a new importance. And so one very famous symbol of the Renaissance is this Sistine Chapel painting where you can see that the images are very lifelike, and even though it's a religious image, it's still really emphasis on the human being rather than on the church. So people start to decide that education is important again, and once they do that, they start wanting answers to questions, answers to what is truth, what is the meaning of life. They try and find answers to these questions outside of the church. They don't want to ask their priest. They don't want to ask a church official like the Pope or the Cardinal or a bishop. They want to know through their own conversations and being able to use their own reasoning and logic how to answer these questions. And so that's kind of where philosophy starts to compete and or fill the void of Christianity and religion during the Renaissance period. At the same time that that's happening, that's just a famous picture of a bunch of philosophers together. At the same time that that's happening, we get a rebirth of science as well. People start to care about education, and they use science to help find the answers to some of these questions. So we've got an image here of a doctor showing people the anatomy of a human hand on a cadaver, and at the same time, people want to go outside of Europe. They want to learn about how the world works. So just like philosophy has men thinking and going on adventures of the mind to try and seek truth and find out more about the world, explorers are doing that in reality. They are going on a ship and going out around the world to find out more about how the world works, what it looks like, where things are. They are seeking truth in the same way that philosophers are, and so they're a natural extension of each other. They're kind of paired together. At the same time that philosophy is becoming an important way of thinking and answering questions in Europe, you have people now deciding to go explore the world at the same time. So that's our second screencast. Make sure you fill in your notes and bring them to class on Wednesday.